Hey guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video. My name is Rebecca, and if you're new here, I post videos all about beauty, luxury, lifestyle. So if you're into that kind of content, then definitely hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I got this makeup look, but more specifically, this is my powder foundation routine. I do not have a liquid foundation on at all. The makeup is very, very light. It's very comfortable. It is perfect for every day. I also am giving you a couple different options and some tips and tricks and different suggestions for how you might want to try to attempt this look. So if you want to see my powder foundation routine and hear some tips, then just keep on watching. Alright, so I'm going to take you step by step through everything that I do on a day when I'm only wearing a powder foundation. This is typically what I wear most days that I wear makeup. It's pretty rare at this point that I do wear a regular foundation at all, just because I found that this is quick for me when I'm not filming it, and also I feel like it just looks really natural, but still I look put together. So I'm going to take you through all of my steps and give you some pointers and tips for different methods that you can use. So first things first, obviously you gotta go with a primer. This Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. This is my favorite primer I have purchased. This is the second one. It lasts forever, so that's why I don't go through it that fast, especially because I don't do my makeup every single day. And the thing I like about this one is that it's a hydrating primer. So since I'm going in with mostly all powder product today, it will help to create like a nice smooth base. And I just love the moisturizing effect of this primer. I think it feels really nice on the skin. It doesn't do anything to like minimize your pores, but in my experience, at least for me personally, every time I've used a pore filling primer, I don't really notice it doing that much to my pores, so I just stick with something that I love. I'm pretty much done trying out different primers because I always go back to this one, so love that. So the first thing I do is I go in with my concealer. Now, I know this is pretty much against how you see other people do makeup in general. Even when I am wearing a liquid foundation, I always go in with my concealer first. I have never done the big, highlighting triangles. I've never done any of that. So I always go in first because I feel like I just use this to cover any problem areas. And especially when you're using a powder foundation, obviously you want to cover things with something a little bit more full coverage. I love this concealer. This is the Laura Mercier Ultra Longwear Concealer. Definitely my favorite at this point, but if you are looking for a good drugstore alternative, the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind is also a favorite of mine. I have gone through an entire one of those, and I have another one that I've been kind of working through as well. But if you're looking for high-end, then the Laura Mercier one is very good. So I'll just go ahead and cover anything that I know I want to be a little bit more minimized. And I have a lot of redness in my skin, so that's one issue for me. But if you've watched me at all, any of my makeup videos, then you know I don't really mind if some of my natural skin is showing through, just because we're all human, we all have skin. So, and it's not perfect, at least not for me. So I have been trying out that like trendy TikTok trend, only doing in the inner corner and a little bit on the outer corner, which technically this is kind of how I did my concealer before anyway, except I didn't do anything in the outer corner. I just always focused a little bit on the inner corners and then blended out. And it's funny to me now that people are saying that this is better for looking less aged, because when you use the big triangles, you can get creases and all that. I have always thought that. I've always thought piling on the concealer underneath the eye just can't possibly look good in person. I mean, maybe it does, but for me, anytime I've gone heavier with my concealer under my eye, it just doesn't look good. So anyway, I'm taking my damp beauty blender and I'm blending out all the concealer. And I usually always dab around an area where I had concealer put down, just so that it can, the concealer can go a long way. So, there will be excess on your sponge that you can kind of dab out into other areas to kind of create your even base. Okay, so I also brought the concealer on my lid. I forgot to say that because I just use a concealer as my eyeshadow primer. I have used a traditional eyeshadow primer before, the Urban Decay one, and I've also used matte Painterly Paint Pot, which I don't mind the paint pot. I just found it to be a little bit more dry looking on my skin, but a concealer works just fine. I feel like it does what I need it to do, and it just takes away one extra product that you just, it's just one less thing to spend money on. You're already buying your concealer. You're already going in with your concealer around the eye. Might as well just take it onto the lid as well. So this is what we look like with just the concealer. As you can see, it definitely covered some of my problem areas, but of course, it still doesn't look perfect. I mean, again, this makeup look that we're going for is more natural, not flawless. So if you're looking for a super well done up flawless look, then this isn't really the video for you. But if you're watching, then I think you want more of a lighter coverage look. So now let me really quick just set down my lids because I don't want any creasing to happen. So I'm taking my Tartelette and Bloom palette, which is like my favorite palette at this point. This shade right here is like the perfect setting shade in my opinion, for my skin tone at least. Obviously, if you are deeper than me, this is gonna show up really, really light on you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you two different options on ways that you can do your bronzer, blush, and highlight. So one method that I use is all cream products. So this way, honestly, it makes it look very, very glowy, more on the natural side, I feel like, because they are cream, they kind of melt into the skin. If you are somebody that really doesn't like powder too much and you try to just keep the powder minimal, then these cream products are the best way to go. For me, it usually just depends on the day. Sometimes I want to use my powders, sometimes I want to use my cream, so I really don't have a rhyme or reason. Now, I guess if I knew I was going to be outside all day, I would probably opt for the powder products versus the cream, but I really don't spend that many of my days outside, so it really just kind of is the mood I'm feeling for the day. So 3 products that I have that I can recommend if you are looking for a cream would be the Nude Sticks Bondi Bay Contour Stick, which I really like this. It blends out really nicely. It also has a little brush on the end. I don't use that, but it is there. Then I have this Charlotte Tilbury highlighter wand. I don't really think I would repurchase this. I don't know. It's pretty, and I have found that when I just dab with my fingers, it does keep a really, really nice glow. But if you blend it out with like a sponge or a brush, I feel like it kind of doesn't keep that super highlighty effect. So I do like it blending it out with my finger, and it is nice for one of those like glowier natural days. And then I also have really been enjoying this Rare Beauty liquid blush. You only need a tiny bit because it is pretty pigmented, so I could see this lasting forever, especially because I don't use it every day. Then option 2 is obviously to use powder products. So I have my Jaclyn Cosmetics bronzing and blush duo. I wasn't really sure how I felt about this the first couple times I used it. However, I will say the blush is gorgeous. I really love the blush. The bronzer is definitely more on the more natural side just because it is a baked formula and it is very light. As you can see, it's not super dark. I have the duo in Warm Flush and Golden Goddess. Then another Jaclyn Cosmetics favorite of mine, this is a favorite, is the Accent Light Highlighter Palette. Obviously these are powders. So today I think I'm just going to stick with powder. It's just kind of the mood I'm feeling. I think the last time I did my makeup I used liquid, so I'm going to go ahead and do it with powder. So first things first, we need to go in with our powder foundation, obviously. If you were doing the creams, you would want to go in with these first, and then usually what I do if I'm using the creams, I will try to only put the powder foundation in areas that I didn't put the cream, and then once I've blended out most of the product in the other areas of my face, I will just like tap my brush over it just to kind of set it in. So as far as my powder foundations go, let me pull out my other one. Now I have the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Powder Foundation. As you can see, I have almost used that up. And then I also have the Makeup Forever Powder Foundation that I picked up during, I think, not this last sale, but the one before that. Now, there is a difference between these two products in my opinion. This one I like to use more so if I'm already going in with a liquid foundation. I use this to kind of set everything in. I don't really feel like this has a lot of coverage. It's very, very light, even though it is a powder foundation technically. Now, this one is totally opposite. This I use when I'm not using a foundation because I think the coverage is a lot better than this one. So these kind of have just different uses for me. If I were to go in with this one on top of foundation, I think it would look a little bit heavy, whereas this one I can lightly go over my foundation and I think it just sets it and adds a little bit more coverage, but this is not super full coverage on its own. This one definitely is. Now, one caveat is it does have a lot of coverage, so it can get a little bit cakey if you're not careful. So, you know, now that I've been using it a while, I kind of have it down to where I can get it so it doesn't look too cakey. So, one thing I have actually been doing recently that I wasn't doing before is using a kabuki brush. I usually hate kabuki brushes, especially for applying liquid foundation. I really only apply liquid foundation with the Beauty Blender. It's like the only thing that's really worked for me. So, I have found that using this does add more coverage. But if you are wanting it to be a little bit on the lighter coverage side, then something like this. This is the Sephora Pro Featherweight Complexion number 90. I know they have changed a lot of their brushes, so I don't know if this one's still available, but it is a little bit more dense, but it also is kind of, it's hard to explain, but it's a really, really great powder brush. This is like my favorite powder brush. It's the only one I really use. So it just kind of depends on what you're going for. Are you looking for a more built up coverage? Then I would go with the kabuki. If you're looking for something a little bit more lightweight, then I would go in with something a little bit less dense. I think today I'm going to go in with the kabuki just to kind of show you how that looks. So I just dip in and it definitely picks up. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but it's on there. And then I always start in the outer portions of the face and drag into the middle because I don't want the bulk of the pigment to be in the middle of my face. So I do circular motions, I tap, so it just kind of depends, you know. I'm under the eye a lot of times. I tap because you don't want to be pulling down your eye. So again, don't be thinking that we're going to be showing you a full, it's not going to be some full coverage glam look. I'm trying to just do half so you can like see the difference because I definitely can tell a difference. My freckles are a little bit more understated. Again, you can still see flaws in my skin. It doesn't really bother me because I feel like this just looks more natural. When I wear a full coverage makeup, sometimes I feel like I just look crazy because obviously I'm not used to seeing myself like that, and I feel like when you're wearing a super full coverage, it doesn't look natural, which is fine. Those looks are awesome, but when you're going for a more natural look, I don't mind when certain areas of the skin are peeking through. So let me try to get you guys a little bit closer just so you can see the side by side. Okay. So I don't know if you can tell. I mean, like I said, it's not a huge difference. The concealer did do a majority, but I do feel like you can kind of see it looks a little bit more, toned down, whereas like my freckles and stuff are more showing on this side compared to this side. Again, it is very light coverage. Don't expect full coverage. That's all I can reiterate. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side of my face now. I'm pretty much where I'm gonna get with this. Like I said, you're gonna still see some of my skin, it's fine. So now I'm gonna go in with my bronzer, which I'm using the Jaclyn Cosmetics Bronzer Duo, like I mentioned. So you can either use like a fluffy brush like this, or I've also been using a brush like this. So I think I'll go ahead and use this because I want it to be more of like a diffused look. This bronzer is definitely one of those that's good for if you are trying to do like a natural look because you can build it so it doesn't have to be super heavy. You can keep it very just like lightly bronzed. Okay, so I feel like I have a decent amount of bronze going. Obviously, I don't want it to be super stark just because I don't have a super flat canvas that I'm working with. I am keeping the look more natural. How many times in this video can I say natural? So The next thing I'll do is I will go in with the blush, which I really do love the blush from this. And I'm not a big blush person in general, so, you know, I feel like that's pretty good that I actually like the blush. So I usually take a very non-dense, fluffy brush because I don't want it to be super stark, especially because I do have redness in my skin already. I can honestly skip blush and I feel like my makeup still looks fine, but I do, you know, I do want to use this. So I just tap into it, and I usually tap it too, just to be safe. I will smile a little bit and just lightly blush the cheeks. So as you can see, it definitely provided, I mean, I feel like I see it more on this side. It provided a little bit of like rosiness, and you can always build it. So it just depends what your level of blush is. Sometimes I'll take a little bit like that's left over and just kind of brush down the nose. I know a lot of people do that too, but I like where this is at. Like I said, we're not super heavy with anything at this point. Then I will take my so beloved accent light palette, and I'm just going to take a tiny bit of that, and I love using this brush. This is the Jaclyn Morphe JH09. I really do love this. I have to say, I really do love the Jaclyn Morphe brushes. I have owned them since they originally came out, and a lot of times I am reaching for her brushes, and I do have, you know, Sigma, I have some MAC, I have other Morphe brushes, and I really do love Jaclyn's. I do plan on doing a whole video about like my most used favorite brushes, so if you want to see that, definitely let me know down below and subscribe so you don't miss that in the future. I'm trying to do more like helpful how to curate your collection type videos. At least that's in my head what I want to do, since I feel like a lot of people have kind of shifted away from overconsumption of makeup products. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead, and a lot of times I will just kind of see how I feel and just either mix it, or, you know, a lot of times I do these too. I'll just go ahead and mix these, tap it off because these are pretty intense, and give a tiny little like smile just to raise the cheek a little bit. Brush it here, take some over here, and then again. Just to give a little subtle glow. We don't want anything too crazy because, again, this is a light look. So now the last thing I'll do is my brows, and I have really been loving this Rare Beauty brow product because on one end it has the gel, a tinted gel, and on the other end is the pencil. So depending on how I'm feeling, sometimes I'll go in with the pencil and the gel, some days I'll just go in with the gel, just depends. I think today I'll go ahead and use the pencil as well, just a little bit. Brows are definitely the one area that I struggle to do well. I feel like since I already have darker brows, I don't need to do too much. I have a lot of brow hair, so I'm fortunate in that way. And I just fill it in a little bit just to kind of give it a more even look. Okay, that's literally all I'll do. I really didn't put too much at all. So I will probably go ahead and take a little bit of this. Now you do have to be careful because I have found that it is pretty intense, so you want to just take a very light hand. I've accidentally pressed too hard and gotten like the brown color all over my face. Alright, so that is it for the brows and the base. Now I will go ahead and take my setting spray. Hands down, this Morphe Continuous Setting Mist is my all-time favorite setting spray. I always come back to this. I just love it. So I love that it's an aerosol can and it just sets the makeup really well. Setting spray to me is a key step in makeup. Now, you can go without it. It's not like it's a requirement, but I do feel like using a setting spray just melts everything together. So if there is a little bit of cakiness, then you're gonna be able to kind of melt that away by using a setting spray. So let me go ahead and just spray really quick. I don't use a lot, you know, just a little, just to kind of set the face. And if you do feel like anything does look a little cakey, you can just kind of tap over while your face is still a little bit damp. Just tap over everything. and that will kind of help to eliminate and blend everything together to make it look more seamless. So now I know the main part of this video was the powder foundation routine, so if that's all you came for, then that's pretty much it. This is the powder routine. I feel like it looks really, really nice and natural. But really quick, I'm gonna go ahead and just do my eye makeup too, since we are here. And now I know I already set down my lid, but I'm gonna go ahead and just tap a little bit more on just because I use that setting spray. Now you could wait to do the setting spray until after you do your shadow, but I don't know, doesn't really matter. So in the Sephora VIB sale, I picked up a few new eye products. So if you didn't catch that video, I will go ahead and link it down below so you can check that out and see what I picked up. Most of that video is repurchases, so if you're looking for some recommendations of things to get from Sephora, then a lot of those products are ones that I recommend. And I have used all of these. I used a couple shades from each, and I use this. This Hourglass Scattered Light, you need to stop what you're doing and go buy one if there's a color that you like, because this is phenomenal. The way I describe it is that it's like a topper, but with an eyeshadow formula. It's not a topper formula, which I love, because you're getting that topper, really pretty vibe without that topper formula. I much prefer like an eyeshadow formula, so I think this is seriously fantastic. So let's see what we got working with here. I know it seems silly to go into like multiple different palettes, but since these are minis, I feel like even if I was going to travel with these, they're going to take up virtually no space, so it's not that big of a deal to use 2 at a time. So I think what I'm going to do is first go in, this is a third palette, first go in with this shade here. This palette's hard to show you because it glares. This is like my favorite crease shade. Again, this palette is like an all-time fave for me. If I lost everything in my collection, I would definitely go repurchase this, so I just love it. So I'm going to take that shade, it's called Flower Child, and then just kind of fluff that into the crease a bit, just to kind of a nice little base. And what I have been doing too is jumping from my crease to my lower lash line. Let me zoom you guys in a little bit more just so you can see what the heck I'm doing here. So I have been doing that where like I jump from top to bottom. That way everything kind of stays together and I can kind of see how the look is turning out as I'm going. The Natasha Denona shimmers are also really, really pretty. So instead of using the Hourglass today, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go in with this like goldy shade. It is this one. It's the like deeper gold. So I usually like to go ahead and go in with my shimmer shade right away. That way I can kind of blend around it, and then if I need to touch it up from anything that got blended away, I can at the end. So I'm going to take a flat shader brush. This is from MAC. It's the 242. Tap in to this and go ahead and just tap it onto my lid. And a lot of times I will go ahead and blend a little bit into the crease area, just so that it's all, you know, well blended. That is a really, really pretty gold. It definitely has like a greeny undertone for this gold, which I love. And is part of the reason I bought these. All right, so now that we have our like shimmer down, I'm gonna go ahead back in with that Flower Child shade and just blend around the edges a bit, just to make sure, you know, nothing is harsh. Okay, so now what you could do is, technically you could just kind of leave this right here, go in with your mascara and your liner and call it a day, but I think I will just deepen it up a smidge in the outer corner, and by doing, I'm just gonna go ahead and take, I guess just to use this one a little more, I'm gonna take this shade right here and maybe tap into this one a tiny bit, just because these are pigmented, so you don't need a lot, and then tap it off, and then we'll just tap a little bit in the outer corner. just to deepen it up. Dragging into the crease once most of the product is on the outer corner. So just deepen it up a tiny bit. I don't want anything too drastic because again, this is more of a natural looking look that I'm going for. And I will take a little bit of this down in the lower lash line as well. Alright, so that is pretty much all I'm gonna do for the eyes. I'm just gonna go ahead and add my liner, mascara, my lip color, and I will finish up with you guys. Alright, so here is our finished look with lipstick, lip gloss, mascara, eyeliner, and I also forgot to mention that I always forget to do my inner corner and my brow bone, but I did go ahead and take one of the highlighter shades from the Jaclyn Cosmetics Accent Light palette and just dabbed a little bit in the inner corner and on the brow bone. So this is kind of a typical everyday look for me, except the only difference is I usually don't wear lipstick that often, especially right now with having to wear a mask. I just hate when it gets all over my mask, so a lot of times I just don't even wear lipstick. I'll just wear a lip balm, if anything. And you know, with more of an everyday look, I feel like you kind of can get away with your natural lip color, especially if you put like a balm on. But anyway, this is the look. So you guys will have to tell me, what do you think? Do you think this is a nice look? How do you feel about it? Is this something you would wear every day? What's your typical everyday look? For me, like I said, this is something that I can really quickly do. Obviously, since I was kind of demonstrating and explaining what I was doing, it did take me longer in the video, but in the morning when I'm trying to get ready, I can do all of my makeup in like 15-20 minutes, depending on how intense I do my eyes and depending on, you know, if I'm being a little bit slower, if I'm really just trying to hustle through and get ready, which 20 minutes is not bad at all to, you know, kind of look all put together. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know if there's any other like natural inspired makeup that you want to see me do, or if you need any recommendations. Definitely let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.